Welcome back to Smart Life. Just a reminder, you can watch us live in cities around the country by going to Biz TV, growing all the time. Now on the air in New York, Philadelphia, and Orlando. Business TV, it's your biz. And of course, you can view past episodes of Smart Life at moneybizlife.com. At a time when our liberties seem to be under constant attack, the right is splintering. And as a result, we might be losing some races. If there was anything that could unify GOP moderates and far-right conservatives, you would think it would be all the attacks on our liberty that have been happening recently. The GOP politicians in Washington, D.C. sometimes don't seem to care what's happening in flyover land. They're not listening to what their base is saying, and they are at risk of losing it. So I asked nationally syndicated radio host Steve Deace to join me today to tell me what he's hearing from his listeners. Steve, welcome back to the show. Good to have you. You say that you are hearing more than ever from your listeners that it might be time for folks, conservatives, to jump ship on the GOP. Is this irrational?
I don't know if it's rational or not. I just think it's a natural human reaction when people feel frustrated, when their backs are against the wall and nobody listens to them. When I was growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Gina, there was a really fun tire commercial from a local store. And the commercial was, if you don't like your tire, you can return it. And this little old lady would wield this big old tire up a hill, pick it up with all their might, and throw it through their front showcase window to break all the glass just to prove a point. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of grassroots conservatives are. I took an hour of phone calls from all over the country on my show last night. People telling me, Steve, maybe it's time to pick one GOP sellout in the fall and make an example out of them and exact some retribution against them to prove our point. And it's one of the reasons why I wrote a column for the Washington Times today that's titled, "Why We're Mad as Hell and We're Not Going to Take It Anymore." This is as angry as I've ever seen people, Gina.
Mm-hmm. While we're on the topic of who's angry, and while we're on the topic of what you've written in the Washington Times, you also wrote a piece about Christians and that they too, you feel, have come to a very distinct fork in the road. How is the fork that you see for the party and the fork that you see for those who believe in religious freedom, how is that fork merging, and what is your prediction?
Well, it's an exact same parallel. It's the same conversation. The same hipster glass wearing, skinny jean having consultants with designer coffees that are ruining the Republican Party have sunk their claws into the Christian church. And the conversation is, gee, we watered down what we believe for a generation and nobody likes us now. Maybe if we water it down all the more, but say, thank you, sir, may I have another while we sell out, maybe they'll like us more. Maybe this time the sellout will work. And really, the history of the Christian faith shows that bolder is better. It doesn't get any bolder than dying for your cause and rising again from the dead. It doesn't get any bolder than that. And so, I mean, this is a faith where we say to the world, all of us are like sheep and have been led astray. That's why we all need a good shepherd. We all need a savior. No one has a claim on God. He alone has a claim on us. That's a very exclusive truth. I communicate for a living, as do you. If you know of a way to butter that exclusive truth up in order to make it more popular with the masses, I'd certainly love to know what it is. But it seems to me that if your church begins by worshiping a savior that we murdered, sometimes you might run into some situations where people don't like you.
You know, you put it well, and you really have laid out this parallel where the church has, you said, watered down the message for decades. The party has watered down their message for decades. We continue to loosen the fiber and abandon the morality, and as a result, we lose more and more and more support. So it seems to me that the answer is fighting back and not watering down the message anymore, Steve. But I see leaders in the GOP and leaders in conservative churches doing precisely the opposite of that. What's their motive here? It doesn't make sense because they're not stupid people, Steve. I don't think we can let them off for that anymore.
I'm with you. I think the whole stupid party thing, to me, it's an analogy like a woman who doesn't want to admit the real reason why her husband keeps coming home from work late every night. Then she finally comes home one afternoon and her husband's carrying on with another woman in their bedroom, shamelessly, right in front of her. And now she finally has to admit he was cheating on me this entire time. They're not workaholics any more than the cheating husband was. He's a cheater. And they're not the stupid party. These people are treacherous. They don't agree with us. They don't believe in what we believe. If they did, they would act on it. So the choice now becomes this. Can we exert enough influence on the system that we can point a proverbial gun at their heads and force them to do what we want? Or do we have to get a new system? And that's the debate we're having right now.
If you had to just guess, Steve, just listening to your national audience, if you just had to guess on the numbers of Republican Party members who are serious about abandoning the GOP, what would you say that percentage would be? And I know this is not official. This is Steve Deace's best guess, but I want to get your take.
I won't give you a number. Let me say probably not as many as we think, but more than the Republican Party would want. I would say the number would be right there in the middle of those two parameters. The problem for the party is this, Gina. That's the segment of the party that's growing the most. The disenchanted and the disenfranchised is the segment that is growing the most. If you look at this last election, for all these years, we put up all these hack rhinos as nominees, and we told the American people, vote against the Democrat boogeyman. Well, the Democrats finally have a boogeyman for real, and we couldn't turn out our own base in 2012 in order to defeat him. If we can't turn out our base to defeat a Marxist in the White House, then I think we've reached the point where just turning out our base to vote against people won't work anymore. We have to offer them something to vote for.
You've called the recent elections a very bad night for the good guys, as you put it. What does this mean for the rest of the 2014 elections as they ensue? And then ultimately, Steve, what are your predictions based on what's happened so far for 2016?
Well, about the only party that's worse off than the Republicans right now, Gina, are the Democrats. I've never seen a trend line for a party in a midterm election worse than this. It's like a combination of voter fatigue for a president in his second term, which we always see in these 6-year midterm elections. But then you combine it with Obamacare, and you're creating really a snowball that is sort of the environment of 1994 and 2010 combined. But I think in the short term, the Democrats are in a lot of trouble this fall. But in the long term, I think the Republican Party is resting on a very, very shaky foundation. I think if we don't nominate somebody that is some kind of champion of the base in 2016 as the standard bearer, that person doesn't win the presidency and can be in a position to empower folks like me and you to have more of a voice in this party. I am afraid that in our lifetime, we will see another major political realignment, and this party will go the way of the Whigs from whence it came.
Because everybody knows, and I've never been an advocate for party splits. I mean, in the last election, I fought it tooth and nail with my national radio audience in Alabama. And I said, do not abandon the party. The two-party system works. If you don't turn out, you hand it to the other side. I've made that argument again and again, but I will tell you, they are testing me. I daily fantasize about posting, I'm done with the GOP. I daily fantasize about that. That's not a good sign.
No.
And so if there were to be a split, can you see a way that a split could happen, Steve, that could be tangibly beneficial to the 2016 elections?
I think it will happen after 2016. I think there's enough promising candidates, whether it's a guy like a Ted Cruz, for example.
You said yourself, what if they nominate another laydown for the establishment? I don't know if I agree with you on that.
What I'm saying is I think we'll try to work the process through that culmination. If it doesn't work, then I think you'll see what happened in 2012 happen in 2016 on steroids, and then some form of an organic process. Because, Gina, the legalities of getting a third party on the ballot are almost impossible right now. The Constitution Party is the largest third party. They think they were on the ballot in only 36 states last time. It's such an incredible process. But we have seen from the dawn of our country, when 56 men got together and signed a Declaration of Independence without knowing how the future would hold, we have seen in our country that when there's a will, there's a way. Mm-hmm. And there is more and more will to fight back against the ruling class of both parties than I think we have ever seen, probably since we wanted to do it against the Redcoats at the dawn of the Republic.
Is the split happening on the left side of politics at all, too? And we're just not seeing it because we're not there? Or is the split just not as bad over there?
They already had this debate. They lost an election in 2004 that they should have won. George W. Bush's trend line in 2004 was very similar to Barack Obama's in 2012, and he survived. And they had this debate, which was, do we do the kind of pragmatic Clinton thing, or do we nominate a real leftist? And they decided, you know what? If we're going to lose, let's lose on our ideas. And they nominated one of their own in Barack Obama. And now really the transition of the Democrat Party from a liberal party, the old left of center immigrant pro-working class party, to a true Marxist leftist party is now complete. This debate is now happening in the Republican Party. Will we be a party of liberty or a party of corporatists? And it will be one or the other. They cannot peacefully coexist anymore.
It's going to be interesting to watch, Steve. You and I will be in the trenches together on this one because I have a feeling it's going to get bloody. Steve, I really do appreciate you being with us today. Remind us where we can find your show and your book.
The book is called Rules for Patriots, How Conservatives Can Win Again. And you can just visit it and find me and our show at our website, stevedeace.com, DEACE.
All right, Steve, thanks so much for being with us.